Okay, so I got my disc here. I just wanted to show real quick before I put a punch mark on it. Here we can see basically the center of this from the, they create these domed bronze markers, casting mark or whatever. So I'll put a little punch mark there, and then this logo, this is the California Department of Transportation. This would be considered the marker logo, disc logo, when we input this information into the NGS database basically, and I'll go over that in another video. But when I designed this stamping before we ordered these, this California is centered. So it's 10 letters between Calif and Ornia. So between the F and the O and this center punch will be the center of the disc and the center of the logo. So then I can project that down and then find the center down here, and then I'll set my labels centered on this based on those points. So I'll do that, but I'm not going to stamp that on this countertop because my wife probably wouldn't appreciate it if I left the mark on it. So be right back. Okay, I've cut out my labels and I've put my little punch mark in the center of that, and so now I'm going to start sticking my labels on. So the first thing I'm going to do is just peel off the backing, obviously, and I'm going to start from the middle and work outward. So this is the NGS project number, and I set it right on that punch mark because there's a little bit of space there between that and the actual label itself. So by the time I stamp it and peel it off, there'll be enough space there for my drill bit, or the drill, to open up that hole a little bit. I'll show that later. So then I'm going to put my my designation, and I'm going to center that between the F and the O basically, and you can always peel these up and move them if you don't like the way they look. Now it's going to go like that. Okay. And as a matter of fact, I did this backwards. Let me peel this off. Dang it. Because I have my, this goes below this. I have the designation, and then my LS number. It's pretty much equally spaced there and there. And then I'll put this on top of that. Basically like that. Okay. And then I'll slide this logo, I'm sorry, this label right there. And then I'll put the year in the bottom, like so. And it's definitely not perfect, but these discs run between 45 and 50 bucks to buy, so you don't want to make any mistakes. And I've made a few in the past with stamping, so this right here is a good way to avoid making mistakes. Get the the label set on there. I know that my stamp sizes are pretty close to the font size here, so I won't have any issues with space, because that's usually what happens. You start stamping and your logo is not centered, or something weird happens. So next step will be to stamp it. Okay, so I just wanted to demonstrate real quick how I have my labeler set up to create the label for the bronze marker. And so the way I'm labeling mine is using assigning a designation, and then California Business and Professions Code section 8772 requires that the licensed land surveyor or civil engineer needs to have their certificate number on there, so I'm putting my LS license. I'm also putting the project name or number that was assigned by NGS for this particular control project. That's going to be blue booked and submitted to them, which is GPS 9714. That's the number, and then the year that you set the disc. So those are the important parts of the labeling, and in addition to the logo, which is that goes around the perimeter of the marker. So then just real quick, the settings over here on the font F1, I'm using Helsinki. And what I wanted to point out is that the underline really helps guide the stamp. So when you make sure that it says underline and not round or off, you hit OK to accept it. File label lengths automatic, and then the margins I have set to narrow. The tab length is 0. Print option, not worried about. Language is going to be English. Unit is inches. Clear is just going to clear all your text and settings. The size, that's what's important. I'm using medium. The arrow is pointing up here, but I'm using the medium text size. And then the width is normal. Style is normal. And then I'm back to the underline. So those are the options that you have. And so basically it's just the medium size. I'm doing the narrow margins, hoping that it's gonna like save on my my actual label. So I printed it off. It has a little extra length on this side, but it cut it short on this side. I don't know if that's because of the way the margins are set to narrow. Normally I have about this much on both sides. And then I just did double space in between each label to give me room to cut it. So that's it. Just wanted to kind of go over that real quick. Alright, so I got my protective rag here to cover the countertop so my wife don't get upset if I leave a mark. I don't want to leave a mark either. I got my stamp kit here. It's organized in alphabetical order. That's how they come. So A, B, C, D across the top, and then the numbers are down here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you're looking for your particular stamp, it's easier to find. And then these also have like a notch on the bottom, so that you know when you're holding it, if you feel that on your thumb, you got it right side up and not upside down. So with that, move this out of the way. I'll get this centered, and I'm going to grab my L, and then use the underline as a guide. And then the one thing that I've learned is you don't need to do just light taps is all you need. You don't need to swing real hard, because what happens is if you miss it, the hammer slips, the stamp slips, and then you end up with your stamp in the wrong spot. So this nice light stamps, you get everything the way you want it. Now the numbers doesn't have a 6 and a 9, the 9 and the 6 are used interchangeably. So in this particular, I grabbed the 6, but this time that little feeler guy, I don't know what it's called, it's upside down, so now it's on my index finger, not on my thumb. So do the 9, and I got the 0 here. And then the 8. And then the 3. Now normally I would probably be hitting on this a lot harder, but since I'm on the kitchen counter, I'm going a little lighter. I'll move it to the garage bench and then darken them, deepen them up. There's the S, and then the C. That underline makes, is a nice guide. And the O. And the A. And the S. Kind of got to move the stamp around so it's flush with the bronze. Otherwise, it'll end up kind of deep on one side and shallow on the other. So you kind of roll it around. So there's just the top 2 labels. Let's peel this off and see what that looks like. Peel off the excess. And then you can see that it looks like I need to hit a little bit harder all the way across. So I'll move this out to the garage and finish stamping it up. Okay, so I took the disc over to a regular workbench and then darkened up these guys up here. That's always a pain to try to go back over because sometimes you miss the groove and then you double stamp it and it looks like crap. So what I just tested was 4 good hits with the hammer while you're holding it in place, and it leaves it does a good enough job. Right here I got a 5/32 drill bit. I'm going to open up this divot a little bit. Okay. So that makes it a little bit more visible. You get a rod in there a little better. Probably open it up that a little bit more. Okay. And we'll take these labels off, and then let's see what we got here. There you go. Not too bad. We got the 9 and the 0 kind of squished up against each other. That was because I'm trying to work around my camera on a little tripod, so a lot easier when I got room. But that's good.